I've always said that the golden age of toys was the 1970s. Hasbro's G.I. Joe steered us into the decade, but having seen most of his success in the latter half of the 1960s, his popularity petered out, and he wouldn't survive past 1977. Many people would say that Star Wars was the most popular toy line of the 1970s, but I disagree. While I cannot deny the huge success of Kenner's Star Wars, it was a toy line born in the late 70s, and one that really hit the dizzying heights of its success in the early 1980s. In Britain, the most popular toy line of the decade was easily Palitoy's Action Man. After all, he did win the Toy of the Decade award. But on the global stage, there was another toy company that dominated the entire decade. Mego Toys had revolutionised the boys' action figure market by successfully licensing a mind-boggling amount of TV, movie and pop culture properties, with a portfolio including Planet of the Apes, Muhammad Ali, Chips, Starsky and Hutch, The Dukes of Hazzard, Happy Days, Star Trek, The Wizard of Oz, Doctor Who, Kiss, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. Not to mention Robin Hood, The World's Greatest Super Knights, Mad Monsters, Western Heroes and Mego's crown jewel, The World's Greatest Superheroes line. There's no denying that Mego's action figures led the way during the golden age of toys. Hello toy fans, my name is Tony and welcome to an Analog Toys special feature. Toy Histories with Mego, the world's greatest action figures. David Abrams founded the Mego company in 1954. Originally finding success importing cheap novelty toys for nickel and dime stores, Mego's leap to global toy superpower wouldn't come until 1971. It was during that year that David's son Martin Abrams was promoted to president of Mego. Martin was well aware of the success of Hasbro's G.I. Joe, but he was also aware that G.I. Joe was a premium product, and as such it carried a hefty price tag. Action Jackson would be Mego's cheaper alternative to Joe and would be sold in similar fashion with box figures and a variety of carded outfits.
Action Jackson is my name, bold adventure is my game. Think of what you'd want to be, then call on me.
I want to be a frogman.
Action Jackson. Action Jackson. Action Jackson.
All sold separately.
Action Jackson.
By Mego.
Released in 1971, Action Jackson was a hit with the youth of America, but the true secret to his success lied in his revolutionary 8-inch scale figure body. Before the early 1970s, toy companies were reluctant to exploit movie and TV licenses because the success or failure of the toy line would be too closely linked to the success or failure of the licensed property. But by using the new 8-inch scale Action Jackson body, Mego could simply and easily change out the figureheads to create new characters. This meant that if an action figure license failed, Mego could minimise the financial impact by recalling unused product and reworking it into a different toy license. In 1974, this innovation saved Mego from a potentially crippling financial failure. Mego had licensed the Planet of the Apes television series, but after the show's premiere, ratings rapidly declined and the series was cancelled. Mego was facing huge losses, but instead they simply converted all unshipped inventory into other toy lines. This formula for success gave Martin Abrams the confidence to take on any popular movie or TV property of the time. Mego also began to develop a reputation for throwing lavish parties at Toy Fair in New York City in order to secure further licenses and ensure that toy buyers would support their latest product line. Perhaps Mego's most stunning achievement was its wildly popular World's Greatest Superheroes line, first released in 1972. The first wave included Superman, Batman and Robin, and Aquaman, all licensed by DC Comics. Following the acquisition of the DC license, and in a move that would be completely unheard of in today's toy market, Mego successfully secured the rights to Marvel Comics characters, and wave after wave of new figures were released under the World's Greatest Superheroes banner.
It's the world's greatest superhero collection, featuring Batman and the other half of the dynamic duo, Robin. The Hulk, that green superhero, he's fully posable. Falcon, the winged black superhero. Shazam and Iron Man. The world's greatest superheroes collection. Each superhero action figure sold separately from Mego.
Cashing in on the popular comic book craze of the time, Mego's World's Greatest Superheroes went off like a zeitgeist explosion. By far the most popular character was Batman. Fueled by the popularity of the Adam West TV show that was still playing in syndication, he was the only character to be released in every single wave of World's Greatest Superheroes. Mego's World's Greatest Superheroes proved to be so popular that the company released its favourite characters in different scales and formats. Toy aisles stocked the more popular superhero characters in the 12-inch scale, as well as a 5-inch tall die-cast figure series and Mego's famous Pocket Superheroes line.
It's the Batmobile, complete with Batman and Robin. And the Batcave, sold separately, assembly required. Inside, Batcave is loaded with equipment. And here, it's Spider Car, complete with Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. You can pretend they're heading for Spider-Man Alley. Sold separately, assembly required.
Stop yelling, you can drive.
Batmobile and Spider Car come complete with action figures. Each car sold separately by Mego.
But the company's most popular figures remained their 8-inch scale superheroes. This 8-inch scale also made it easier for Mego to produce cheap vehicles and playsets, items that were much more expensive to buy in Hasbro's G.I. Joe range, and led to Hasbro releasing Super Joe in a similar 8-inch scale in 1977. The 8-inch scale figure body wasn't Mego's only revolutionary contribution to the toy industry. They also brought about advances in toy packaging, many of which are still used today. Mego's first release of World's Greatest Superheroes figures was sold in solid boxes, but retailers were complaining that customers were opening the boxes to get a better look at the figures inside. This led to the introduction of window boxes. In 1973, Mego developed a Kresge card. Kresge, now known as Kmart, demanded that Mego figures be made compatible with their PEG display system. This development led to the widely used blister card design that has since been adopted by most other action figure production companies and remains the industry standard to this very day. In 1976, Mego successfully secured the license for the Microman toy line from Japanese toy company Takara. Being released in the US as Micronauts, Martin Abrams had such confidence in his new science fiction property that he ignored another potential license for a new upcoming movie called Star Wars. George Lucas's new space opera exploded onto the pop culture conscience of an entire generation. It was out with superheroes and in with spaceships and lightsabers. Rival toy company Kenner, who until then was a little-known toy company who had only seen limited success with their $6 Million Man license, successfully secured the rights to produce Star Wars action figures. What follows is the thing of toy legend. Kenner's Star Wars has gone on to become the most successful action figure brand in history, dominating toy aisles from 1977 right up to the present day. The unparalleled success of the Star Wars movie and its subsequent toy line took Hollywood and the entire toy industry by complete surprise. The Star Wars movie had reinvigorated an entire genre, and Mego began paying premium fees for every sci-fi movie license that came along. Star Trek the Motion Picture, The Black Hole, James Bond's Moonraker, and television's Buck Rogers all failed both on screens and in toy aisles.
The Starfighter and Buck Rogers.
Okay, Kane, get ready to fight.
Meet Kane and the Draconian Marauder.
You'll never catch me.
Planes need assembly. Each plane and action figure sold separately. There's Twiki.
Get the robot.
You can pretend he's being chased by Draco, Tiger Man, and the Draconian Guard.
Calling Buck Rogers, help!
Buck Rogers, Twiki, Draco, and Tiger Man, each sold separately by Mego.
Mego's movie-related toy products languished on retail shelves, while Star Wars sequels boosted Kenner's toy sales to stratospheric heights. Mego entered the 1980s in a state of commercial panic. Following 3 straight years of losses, the company's debt had reached an uncontrollable level, and they filed for bankruptcy in 1982. The toy company that grew from a bit player in 1970 to the 6th biggest toy company in the world by the end of the decade, and had pioneered much of what is now commonplace in the action figure industry, closed its doors forever in 1983. Nobody, not even George Lucas, had predicted the success of Star Wars, so it's hard to blame anyone within Mego for what ended up being a catastrophic mistake. I guess the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, is true after all. It certainly was the case with Mego. Mego's immense range of different licenses meant that their products appealed to a wide range of children with varying interests. I know Mego toys impacted my childhood. One of my favourite toys was the 12-inch Incredible Hulk action figure. I was a huge fan of the television show, and my favourite Action Man figure always played the role of Dr. David Banner. That is, until someone made him angry. Today, Mego action figures have a die-hard fan base and are collected by enthusiasts all over the world. Their colourful figures and almost boundless range of products ensures that Mego will go down in history as one of the greatest toy companies to ever grace our collective childhoods, and the likes of which I doubt we will ever see again.